Yesterday, I spoke with President-elect Trump to congratulate him on his victory, and I assured him that I would direct my entire administration to work with his team to ensure a peaceful and orderly transition. Yesterday, I also spoke with Vice President Harris. She's been a partner and a public servant. She ran an inspiring campaign, and everyone got to see something that I learned early on to respect so much: her character. She has a backbone like a ramrod. She has great character, true character. She gave her whole heart and effort, and she and her entire team should be proud of the campaign they ran.
All right, that was the president speaking there. I'm joined now by Peter Matthews. He's a professor of political science at Cypress College in Long Beach, California. And we should let our viewers know that about 2 years ago, he was also a Democratic candidate for Congress. Peter, it's good to have you on the program tonight. I want to get your take on what we heard today from the president. So President Biden says that Kamala Harris fought the good fight. I'm wondering, did she ever even have a chance, in your opinion?
I think we have to notice that she really only started the campaign or was nominated just 3 months ago. It was a very shortened campaign compared to most American elections, which allow the candidates to introduce themselves for over a year. So that was a disability in a sense for her, not being able to get to be known by everyone. But there are other things that, of course, you have to look at, and that's the economy. You have to look at wages, for example. If you look at inflation-adjusted wages, they're lower than what they were 50 years ago. And the prices of goods went up by 20% since Biden came into office, and wages haven't kept up with it. So those things were headwinds, which made it very difficult for her to be able to win. But she worked a very hard election, and I think she handled it very well given the circumstances.
She also had an incredibly large amount of money to work with. And yes, she did have a shorter time for the U.S., but here in Europe, we're used to 6 weeks for national election campaigns. So, I mean, time can't really be the reason, right? I mean, do you think it proves that money can't buy victory in U.S. politics?
A certain amount of money is important as long as we have this privately financed system, which I think we should move away from to more of a public system, making more even. But in this situation with her, you have to be introduced to the public because American politics is personality-based, a lot of it. In Europe, you have the strong party-based issue politics. I wish we'd move more to that here. So I do believe the money didn't help her all the way. A certain minimal amount was important. Yeah. The fact that she had more money than Trump didn't have to help her win because there were those headwinds of economic issues. And if she had hit those harder and talked about the working class, because she lost some of the working class votes. Yeah. White American voters and also Latino and African American workers and small business. She lost some of them, didn't do as well with them as she could have and should have done. And that takes the messaging. The messaging is very important, and money alone cannot do it.
We know, as you've said, voters said that inflation and immigration were most important to them. And Kamala Harris, she mentioned those, but she also focused a lot on abortion and reproductive rights. Do you understand why she did that? I mean, after all, the Democratic Party is where the saying was born, it's the economy, stupid.
Exactly. And her emphasis on abortion choice and freedom of reproductive choice for women was very important because she did have a gender gap, and she's a woman, the first woman to be nominated. Well, not the first, but the first in terms of recently. I mean, we had Hillary Clinton before that. But being a woman candidate, she didn't play up her gender. That's another thing I want to mention. But she could have focused a bit more on the economy, I believe. I think Bernie Sanders' critique is certainly valid to some extent, where he said, if the Democrats abandon the working class will abandon the Democrats. And that's the problem right there. If she had balanced the message out a little bit more, but hindsight's always 20/20, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think she ran a good campaign, but she had focused more on the economy, workers. It would have been better, I think, looking back.
Where does all of this leave the Democratic Party? I mean, what will the immediate future of soul searching look like, in your opinion?
I think the Democratic Party has to go back to its original roots, where President F. Franklin Roosevelt, who was the founder of the modern Democratic Party coalition, emphasized the economic issue and social justice, economic justice. We have to go back to that, at the same time not abandoning our human rights causes. It's very important to continue fighting for the rights of people who are LGBTQ, for example, of other people, of women, the equality, abortion. Those are important, but the emphasis also ought to be on having economic justice so workers can live a middle-class dream. Without that, the Democratic Party does not have much. The middle-class dream is what it actually helped to bring about by strengthening unions. It has to be brought back again, and that can help the party once again regroup and maybe possibly have a chance in 2028.
Let me ask you, there's a long time between now and 2028. A lot's going to happen. Let me ask you about the Trump impact on foreign policy. I want you to take a listen to what the French president said today. Take a listen.
There has been a strategic awakening that we Europeans must accept. We must not delegate our security to Americans. This is the moment when we decide to defend our national and European interests, to believe in our sovereignty, our strategic autonomy.
Let me ask you, Mr. Matthews, we're hearing there Emmanuel Macron saying, we Europeans, we have to take our own destiny in our own hands. Isn't France advocating exactly what Donald Trump has been pushing for the past, 8 years?
He has. He raised the issue of equity and funding of the GDP, defense budgets. But President Macron is making a very important point. Everything we've seen about Donald Trump 4 years when he was in office, and also what he's been speaking about, is to pull back on the American commitment to NATO, to having an alliance that's strong and that can be stable and keep peace in Europe. So President Macron is making a very important point that Europeans do need to focus a lot on their own defense, but not entirely. We still have to have a partnership. And President Trump, I hope he doesn't go too far in cutting back on that partnership. It's been the stabilization of the entire Western world and therefore the world economy and the world's security all these years. And we must maintain that. So I would certainly put a warning signal that President Trump shouldn't pull back far from what was going on all these years. At the same time, there has to be equity, and President Macron's suggestions of self-sufficiency are very important for Europe as well.
The French newspaper Le Monde today, as its main opinion piece, had the headline, "End of the American World," painting a dismal picture now for the international community now, with the end of the Pax Americana and the beginning of yet another Trump term in the White House. What is your best case scenario for the U.S. and for the world during the next 4 years of this soon-to-be second Trump administration?
There's a lot of uncertainty, but the best case scenario would be if Trump would not go too far in withdrawing our involvement in the world. We are a country that has been involved with the world for just decades, and in fact, a century or more. And after the World Wars, we helped to stabilize the world and also bring in the United Nations. We're not part of the League of Nations, which we should have been. We cannot abandon that international commitment because this is a global society, global economy. The world's getting smaller, and to keep peace and have trade and technology transfer and empower Global South, the Global South has to be brought up as well. The United States has to be involved, and Europe can be a partner with that, and we need to make sure that our leadership in the form of Trump this time has to remember that. It's extremely important for our own security as well as the world.
Yeah, but we will be looking to see if the Republicans control both houses of Congress as well as the White House, if that line of thinking gets much playtime. I doubt it. We'll see. Peter Matthews, Mr. Matthews, we appreciate your time and your valuable insights tonight. Thank you.
Thank you so much.